Hello everyone. Today I will tell you a story. The story is titled, Just Quirky on an Ordinary Day. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you appreciate me. You can skip this if you don't and oppose. Like this video. Thank you very much. The story begins as follows. Quirky woke up before the sun fully decided to show itself. The room was still wrapped in that soft, quiet gray that only exists in the early morning, when the world hasn't started rushing yet. He lay stretched out on the edge of the bed, one paw hanging dramatically in the air, as if he were performing for an invisible audience. To anyone else, it looked like an ordinary morning. To Quirky, it was a mission. The sunlight slowly crept through the window, inch by inch, landing first on the floor, then the blanket, and finally on the tip of Quirky's ear. His ear twitched. He opened one eye, then the other, carefully inspecting the light like it had personally come to visit him. Satisfied, he rolled onto his back, exposing his fluffy belly in a way that suggested both trust and confidence. You were still half asleep when Quirky decided it was time for the day to officially begin. He stepped onto your chest, not aggressively, just firmly enough to be noticed. Then he leaned forward and stared, not meowing, just staring. His eyes were wide, calm, and extremely patient. This was Quirky's way. Eventually, you opened your eyes and sighed. "Good morning, Quirky," you said, your voice heavy with sleep. Quirky responded by sitting down neatly and flicking his tail once, like a polite greeting. Mission accomplished. As you got out of bed, Quirky followed closely, matching your pace step by step. He watched as you brushed your teeth, occasionally standing on his back legs to inspect the sink, curious about the running water but unwilling to get too close. He supervised breakfast with great seriousness, sitting near the kitchen door like a small manager, making sure everything was done correctly. When you poured his food into the bowl, he didn't rush. Instead, he sniffed it thoughtfully, looked up at you, then back at the bowl, as if silently acknowledging your effort before eating. It was a tiny moment, but it felt meaningful. Outside the window, the city was waking up. Inside the house, Quirky settled near your feet, purring softly. The day hadn't offered anything special yet, but somehow, with Quirky around, it already felt complete. The afternoon arrived without any announcements. No loud events, no dramatic changes, just a slow stretch of time that many people overlook. Quirky, however, treated it like a personal playground. After a long nap by the window, Quirky woke up and immediately noticed something unusual, a dust particle floating in the sunlight. He stared at it intensely, his head moving slightly as it drifted. For a few seconds, the entire universe consisted of that tiny speck of light. He jumped. He missed. He looked around to see if anyone noticed. You did. Trying not to laugh, you returned to your work, while Quirky pretended nothing had happened. He calmly walked away, sat down, and began grooming himself, licking his paw with exaggerated care. Dignity, after all, was important. Later, Quirky discovered a cardboard box left near the corner of the room. To you, it was just packaging. To Quirky, it was a fortress, a hiding place, and possibly a spaceship. He climbed inside, circled 3 times, and finally sat down, peeking out through a small tear in the side. From there, he watched the world. When you walked past, he reached out gently, tapping your leg with his paw, not to scratch, just to remind you that he was there. Sometimes you responded by sitting on the floor next to him, resting your back against the couch. Quirky would stay in his box, close enough that your shoulders almost touched. You didn't talk much during those moments. There was no need. In the quiet afternoon, Quirky taught you something without trying. He showed you how to enjoy stillness, how to find interest in small things, how to exist without constantly needing to do more. He wasn't lazy. He was present. As the sun began to lower, the house filled with warm orange light. Quirky stepped out of his box and stretched, long and slow, like time itself had decided to relax. He walked over and sat beside you, leaning just slightly against your arm. It was a simple gesture, but it carried weight. Trust, comfort, belonging. As evening settled in and the lights of the city flickered on, Quirky curled up beside you, his breathing steady and calm. The day had been ordinary, no big achievements, no dramatic moments, but it felt full. Through Quirky's quiet presence, you began to understand something important about life today. In a world that constantly pushes us to hurry, to achieve, and to compare ourselves to others, Animals like Quirky remind us that being present is already enough. He doesn't measure his worth by productivity or success. He values warmth, safety, routine, and connection. And maybe, as humans, we could learn from that. Quirky teaches us to slow down and notice small joys: sunlight on the floor, a shared quiet moment, a simple meal given with care. He reminds us that love doesn't always come in loud gestures. It often shows up as consistency, trust, and silent companionship. To apply this to daily life, try giving yourself permission to rest without guilt. Spend time with animals not as owners, but as companions. Observe them, respect their needs, and learn their rhythms. In return, they offer grounding, emotional balance, and unconditional presence. When humans treat animals with kindness and patience, we build a relationship that heals both sides. Just like Quirky on an ordinary day, a gentle life, lived with empathy and attention, can quietly become a meaningful one.